Welcome back. I want to tell you about a new law. It's in France. It says employees can ignore their work emails after they leave work for the day. No checking your phone at home. The government is encouraging workers there to disconnect once they leave the office in hopes it will ensure a healthy balance between work and personal life. But could that actually happen here in the U.S.? Well, a 2014 survey found that 59% of Americans use their mobile devices to do work after normal business hours. Joining me is Valorie Burton, life coach and author of Successful Women Speak Differently. Good to see you, Valorie.
Hi, Susan. Good to see you.
So a successful woman and a successful person, do you think it is good to have time off, to go home and really disconnect? Do you think it's realistic here in the U.S. that would ever happen?
Well, it's definitely a good thing. I don't know that it's realistic to think we're going to suddenly have a law that's going to prevent it, like in France. I think it's really nice. But, you know, it's so important for us to be able to disconnect. This is something that has transitioned over the last 10 to 15 years where our expectations are so much higher about what we should be able to accomplish in a day, and employer expectations are higher.
And do you think that people in the U.S. would want to disconnect, or let's say be able to disconnect? Because we've become so connected, it's almost as though we check our emails without even realizing we're checking them. So we'd have to make it a point to put the phone or whatever aside to truly disconnect. It's become more and more difficult.
It is more and more difficult, but of course people want to disconnect. We want our downtime. We want to be able to relax. I do think it's more difficult. You know, when you're getting an email or even a text message, it lights up the instant gratification reward center in your brain.
Yeah, the endorphins, exactly.
Yeah, so it actually causes us over time to become almost addicted. But it's really important for us to disconnect. It increases productivity. When you're able to disconnect from work, it increases your creativity, and it allows you just to relax and to focus on the people in your personal life.
To maybe communicate with the people around you.
Exactly.
I see it so many times, even out to dinner, all the family are on their separate devices. What benefits do you think this could have, though, long term? Do you think if people truly do disconnect at home, let's say it's become a law here in the U.S., they'll go back with a fresh perspective?
Absolutely. I mean, we just came from the holidays. A lot of people were on vacation, some of whom were using their phones and doing email over vacation. And you get back and realize, wow, I didn't really disconnect and have a vacation. But I think more than anything, this is about being fully present where you are. And that's really healthy for your relationships. And it's really helpful when you get back to work, because if you're able to focus on one thing at a time, you're actually far more productive.
Yeah, there are people, a poll says that 80% of Americans say using a smartphone to do work outside of typical business hours is positive. Maybe they feel like they can spend less time in the office, but then it's a continuous cycle and you're doing work continuously.
Well, you know what? It is nice when you can check in, especially if there's something really important or pressing. Most people's jobs don't have something so pressing that it can't wait until the next morning. I'm not talking about a doctor or somebody that's in a life or death situation in terms of the work that they do. But it's so important for us to set our own rules and boundaries. And you can do little things like no tech periods, right? During dinner, right? Everyone put your phone away so we can connect with one another. Right before bedtime is another really important time to not have that technology right there in your face, because it actually makes it more difficult to get to sleep. So sometimes we have to really be intentional about our own self-control and being able to have our own rules.
Right, and you can't just tell that to kids. You have to do the behavior and act it out yourself.
You have to lead by example, absolutely.
Because they watch you. Valorie, thank you. I think that's important that we communicate more.
Thank you.
Keep it here. We'll be right back.